How come I started with him on the screen and before I even come on the screen? You know something's wrong, Lord. That's how the much fun we've been having behind the scenes. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Perspectives in Focus. This is your boy, James Hicks, coming to you live on was it Thursday night?
Thursday night.
Matt, look, so I wanted to bring you on right away before even saying a whole lot. I got my guy. This man right here is the consummate professional. George is, look, sales leader, chief technologist, chief strategist. If you look at his business card, there's not enough room to really explain, express the skills that this man has from an enterprise technology perspective. He focuses on everything from competitive intelligence. He focuses on things like sales enablement, technology enablement for partners, for customers and architects and engineers, things of that nature. Jorge Maestre, talk to me, brother. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, brother. And it's good to talk to you. It's been a minute.
Been too long.
Yeah, it's been too long, and it's good to talk to you. You look good. I love the scruff. I love the scruff. I can't let mine go because it's too gray. Like on mine, I'd be like, instead of 2 chains, I'd be too gray. It'll be like far.
His name is Too Gray, goddamn. I love it.
It'll definitely be too gray. I couldn't know, but it looks dope. I like it.
Thank you, brother. This is my COVID growth right here. Since we're not traveling anymore, I haven't put a suit on. And look, let me tell you something. Let's get focused right off the bat, brother. I haven't put a suit on in I don't know, 8 months, and I know I can't fit into them anymore, but but that's what we used to do, right? Together. So talk to the folks. I mean, I gave that quick elevator pitch, but talk to the folks about who it is that you are and what it is that you do, brother.
So all those titles are made up. I just embellished them. I just found titles on Google, and I said, "Oh, that sounds good," and then I threw it in my profile. So what am I, right? I'm a technologist, evangelist. Ultimately for HPE, where I'm at, and this is not, don't consider that a plug. It's just where I'm at right now. My job is to be an industry analyst. That's essentially what I am, right? I'm an analyst that looks at the industry from all different perspectives. And I do focus a lot on competitive intelligence, not to bash or attack competition as much as just to pay attention where the market's going. So generally speaking, my job is heavily on the business development side, but it's a lot of analytical, traditional analytics, not actually analytics of data, but of where the market's going, who's doing what, and having an understanding of how they're doing it from a technology deep dive level, as well as from a market dynamics perspective. What's successful, where it's selling, why is it successful, where it's selling, those kinds of things. And understanding the technology and the financial profile goes along with it. So it is a unique job. It's like 90 hours a week of just research. And then and then the rest of the time, it's just talking shit, right? So that's just basically that's what I am.
Look, there we go right there. So now we're getting into George, right? Let me tell you something. Anytime this man has a room full of technology people listening to his message, we are glued. And for one reason, it's because he comes in with energy, turned up to 200%. Comes in cranking the old school hip hop, come in dropping, whatever bombs that you want to drop, but you know what, you resonate, and the thing that you really know how to do is tell a story, right? So I think that's what connects with the folks, irregardless of what you're talking about. Yeah, we're talking about enterprise technology. We're talking about RPO, RTO, latency. We're talking about NVMe. Those things. Nobody really cares about that, but you make it plain and you tell the story of how it relates to your business. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but again, this is kind of the impression that I've gotten every time that I've been to one of your sessions. I don't know if you ever remembered, every time you were speaking, I'm near the front of the room. I'm not lurking in the back. I'm trying to make sure that I get all the George that's coming at him. So talk to us about that,
George. So all right. So I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna clue you into some things, right?
Oh, here we go. We're gonna drop some gems on the word.
No. Well, so I'm gonna keep it real, right? So we keep it real, keep it real.
Yes, sir.
Having a conversation, we just vibing. So we grew up very similar situations, right? You know that. And I grew up very much in the hood, and you and I vibed from the first second we met. And I was a little lucky. I don't really share this that much, but I grew up with, let's say, unsavory types who appreciated actually my things about my brain, right? And they protected me. They looked out for me. And in that type of, so many people who are watching this right now are going to be like, well, I don't know what that's like. I went to prep school. I have no idea. What is this guy talking about?
You're going to get some LinkedIn inquiries tomorrow morning. So that's what's going to happen.
What is this guy talking about? Like, I didn't see that in my Catholic school. But it's in that life, people tell you stories. That's how they relate. Everything is a story. Like, what happened to your boy? Hey, you haven't seen my boy in a minute. What happened to him? Oh, bro, you didn't know? Let me tell you. And then and how information is relayed to you is a story.
Yeah.
So as you come up and you get more educated, especially in this industry, you start realizing that, stories are a good way to connect with people. It's why people say it. And for people who grew up in a different way, maybe your grandparents tell you story, your parents tell you story. So I started being interested in why this works, right? You talk about storytelling. It's interesting though. So of course, neuroscience, they tell you that when you're telling a story, and if it's an interesting story, people, their brain waves begin to match yours. And it shows actually how people are connected, and you can draw people in with an interesting story. You're pulling people in. It's almost like that hypnotic effect when you're watching a movie and it's 2 hours long and you're just like, what happened to those 2 hours? That movie was for real. What happened to the 2 hours? Yeah. Black Panther, for example, right? I mean, how many people are like, damn, that movie was dope. Where is it? Like, you wanted more.
Yeah.
And it's that same type of hypnotic effect. And so if you can incorporate stories or some style that's similar to that into your presentation style, it works.
I love that. So the question, so you actually, you got me wanting to pivot just a little bit from, I did have some core questions, but I think I want to ask more of a personal question. Okay. Yeah, brother, I'm gonna go ahead and get right down to it, late breaking news. A man of color, right? And to be so successful in our industry, there's not that many of us.
No, there are very few.
Why is that? And how do we change that? How do we bring some other folks up with us? Because again, I mean, you are at a position within your organization, and you've been at various levels. You've been at that level for a while. What's the deterrent, right? Why are there not that many of us anymore? Oh, there never was, but why are there just not that many of us?
I mean, there's hardly any of us. So I'm gonna keep it real. So this is real close to my heart, right? There's a lot of reasons why people aren't interested. I am proudly Latino, but I am mixed, right? There's Black in my background, and I'm not all the way Black, but I live it. You know what I mean? And so it's one of those things where it's sort of an interesting dynamic where I look at you and I see you look like me, and I look around and I don't see many people who have that in my mind anyway, right? Who have that in our industry. And first thing that stands out to me is we're not presented with opportunities.
Wow.
Especially if you're urban, right? Like that's the other problem is, generally speaking, you remember when they used to say Ebonics like it wasn't racist? You remember that? Like,
yeah.
Like if it wasn't racist, like shut the hell, like, but that's that style of speaking that we have, like that hip hop culture that we bring to the table. That's not very welcome in this industry, right? Mm-hmm. And so I joke around. My brother Harry, giving him a shout. I don't know if he's listening to this, but my brother Harry, he always comes in. He's like, I could tell when you're working, you got your white voice on, and I go, what? He's like, and I don't catch myself, right? But what happens is, like, me and you were talking, this is how I normally talk. But then I get on a call for work, and it's like, okay, well then, like, we're going to talk about it. Here's how it goes. And it's like, all of a sudden I became a news anchor. Like, well, today, the weather, and it's something different, right? And I don't do it on purpose per se. I think it's subconscious. It is, and I think I'm in that environment. I don't want to be judged by how I sound, so I just kind of change it, I guess. But I'm definitely feeling like I'm being judged. Now, how many of us want to be are comfortable being judged? How many? I mean, think about it. And so it's not an industry that we normally gravitate towards. But to me, that's the second problem, right? It's the opportunity that's the first problem. Like, we have to open doors for other people, but we also have to show that this is interesting over here, that this is exciting over here, that you can make money over here. And there's not enough of us doing that, and we need to do that. Now, I try to do it. You talk about my presentation style. I try to be a little bit more flamboyant, a little bit more outspoken to show, look, you can do this, James. You're good at this, right? I don't know if you remember Delvon, right? Delvon, one of the smartest people you'll ever meet. Yeah, one of the smartest people you'll ever meet. I mean, the first day I met him, the first thing I thought of was how impressive this man's intelligence was. You know what I mean? And you don't see that, right? And Delvin's a distinguished technologist at HPE. Super proud of my brother. And it's one of those things where you just kind of like, where are like these role models, or these examples, probably is a better word. Where are these examples where you can see them, where your kids can see them, where my kids can see them? Where are they? You don't really see that. I mean, the Black and Latino representation in HPE is excuse me. I said, oops, I just threw my cup in the middle. No, but like in this industry as a whole.
I'll throw mine out there too. I used to work at HPE with you. I was 20 years there. So, I'm at Dell now, but got kind of the same type of thing, brother. Same type of thing.
Same vibe. Yeah. It's minimal, right? It's not a lot. And I think it's because, I always think of the Dave Chappelle joke, hey, you in school, you got to learn. You got to learn how to hit a jump shot or sell crack or something, because ain't no hope for us out there. But it's sad. It's just that and I think so. One of the actually funny that you brought this up. So one of the things that I'm currently doing on my spare time, I just started this. My wife is just started selling wine.
Okay.
For a charity. I forgot her charity's name. I think it's called One Hope is the charity. Now the idea is One Hope is all the wine that she sells. Some of the proceeds, and I forget, some percentage of the proceeds. I don't want to say 50%, but it is a high number. The whole reason she's doing it is that it goes to this organization, I believe it's called One Hope. And what they do is, she's gonna kick my ass when she sees this.
You better get it right. Yeah, you better. Yeah, should we pause and go get her?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't even want to do that. But it goes to teaching children, to educating children on the evils of racism, and to educate children to become anti-racist and to understand that. So this is a cause that's very near and dear to my family, clearly, right? So that's why my wife, is involved in this. And one of the things that I'm currently doing is working with, and I've just started. So
the Conscious Kid.
Oh, it's called The Conscious Kid. She just came in. She's watching it. Yo, real life.
I love it. Look, we live, brother. This is not pre-recorded. This is not going to be edited. We live. Yeah.
Excuse me. I try to give a shout out. My bad. So it's called The Conscious Kid, right? And so it's all about teaching children the values of anti-racism, literature, things that go along with that, right? So one of the things that I started doing was looking at different technology boards and where they are, right? So if you look at different technology organizations, so think about ones that are out there, right? Like SNEA, for example, which we all know and love. But how much these groups are the ones that really need to sort of promote their representation to these communities, and to say, look, some of the smartest people are in our communities, are in the poor communities, right? And that's. I mean, look, you and I, we're gonna keep it real. Right? I live in the Woodlands, Texas. Right? Everybody goes like this when you say Woodlands. Yeah. You live in California. Let's go. Like we're not in those poor neighborhoods. Like Jay-Z said, though, right? I can't help the poor if I'm one of them, so I got rich to get back.
I got to move out. I got to move out. I still remember it, and I do what I can.
We've got to help out, bring them back. And so one of the things that I'm currently doing is looking at different organizations that exist, joining those organizations. I got 2 of them I'm already kind of down the road with, and then seeing what kind of programs we could do to get this education into the poorer communities. Okay. Because what people don't realize is that these poor communities it comes down to this, right? Talent and it is distributed evenly. It is.
Yes.
But opportunity just isn't, right? Opportunities are centered somewhere else. So I'm actually just starting this, and I tell you what, have me back in 6 months, and I hope I'm down the road. But there's a lot of urban communities, and trying to educate them and say, look, dude, I came out of a poor community just like this. My mom's family from Cuba is Afro-Cuban. I'm Black, right? I mean, obviously my father is from Spain. My mom is Black. This is what we have, right? And so we I get it. There's things that are challenging, right? As far as the color of your skin and how it holds you back, these things are out there. I understand that. But we can overcome that.
Yeah.
The thing that we have to remember, man, you just got me on because this is like
I love it, brother. No, this is what we do, right? This is what we do. Long form conversation. We got to talk. We got to have these awkward conversations as well. So I love it. Go, brother.
No, to me, this ain't awkward. I'm just afraid of who's going to be. I'm not afraid.
Well,
Isn't
see,
the right word.
it's awkward because you have to think about that, right? You have to make sure that you're saying
who's listening,
the words, because again, we're streaming on LinkedIn as well. So all of your 2,000 or so folks that see you from a business perspective and talking enterprise technology are like, oh, here's a whole nother side of George that I haven't heard, seen, don't know about, right? You're really pulling back the onion right now on this. So go where you want, go as far as you want. But again, these are those conversations that are stifling.
Career. Let me just double check and make sure my resume is up to date. So here's what it comes down to. Here's the realization of it, though. This is the thing that other people don't see. Mm-hmm. Our margin for error is this big, is this slim. There's a lot of people that come from other cultures, especially, again, traditional sort of, that predominant sort of white community that makes up the U.S. Technology base, but other cultures as well that have a much larger margin for error than Latin and Black. That's just a reality in our industry.
True.
And we have to work harder for the same.
True.
And I know people can say that's not fair, blah, 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 all those things. And all of that is true, but so what? This is the path to success, like it or not. Eventually we'll have enough people where that equity will exist and it'll be even. But I notice it now. I say one thing and it's immediately, George said this, and now it's like that. But I'm not going to mention names, but you and I both know a number of people who've had HR violations and get promoted in this industry. So I've experienced this and I've seen it be somewhat of a detriment to my career, and I get it and I understand that. So you got to work harder, and it may suck, but it's the path. Just know that that's the path. That's what success means, and come in and do it. And once we get there, that'll go away. Believe me, I always use the example of Branch Rickey and Jackie Robinson. So if I could have my own little Mount Rushmore, it would be, it would be, Jackie Robinson would be right there, because when Branch Rickey told him, he said, "You're not the best baseball player. I didn't bring you in here because you were the best baseball player. I brought you here because you were the best man."
Because you were the best man. Yep.
Yeah, you're the best man. You got to work harder. You got to deal with more crap, and you got to do it all. But when you get through it, because of you, there's going to be another one and another one and another one. And after you, and then eventually we'll have equity. And that's what we kind of in our industry are, it sucks. We got to work harder. We got to deal with that lower margin of error. We got to deal with those things. And many of our own bosses don't understand that we're going through that, because in their minds, the reason they don't understand it is because we're not the ones that they're looking at to give the opportunities to.
There you go. Make it plain right there, brother. Right there. There it is right there. Because there's not enough of us, and because we don't fit into the mold. We're not in those inner circles a lot of times. We're different enough than some of the majority. But I see a lot of that as, I don't mind the fact that we have to, and I call it being on, right? When I go up on stage and do the thing, I call it the jazz hands. I don't mind being on, because I bring the game, right? I'm prepared before I have to do a whiteboard, or before I have to do a presentation, or whatever the case may be. I'm definitely studied up and prepared for it, because I don't want to disappoint myself. Right. So I want to make sure that I'm coming true to what I know I can do, impressing. I'm not worried about you. I'm not worried about anybody else. Right. I want to make sure that I come and am true to James Hicks when I'm up there talking about whatever it is I'm talking about. It can be technology. It could be sports. It could be whatever the case may be. So I almost don't mind the fact that we have to rise above everything, because I'd rather rise above all the mess anyway. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
When you talk about going out and touching the youth, I mean, where do you start? Are you going to the college level? You going to the high school level? Because I recall when I was part of the BEF at HP, we tried to reach some of the young folks at the high school level and and show them some things. Where are you seeing more traction?
I got an 11-year-old daughter, and that's where I want to start.
Gotcha.
Right there.
There you go.
Because I want to get them into your brain from now, right? I want you to understand this is a career path. Now I'm gonna tell you this, right? It goes beyond. I look at this world as, oh man, we get real ugly today. We're going civil rights now. People, all right. So the audience, for those of you who don't know, right? If you can't already tell, I grew up in New York City where Malcolm X was praised as a hero in school.
What?
So a lot of people don't hear that, right? So I have a very different perspective of the world.
Yes, sir.
So now that said, I've always looked at, there were restaurants in New York ain't innocent, because there were restaurants in New York in the 40s that had signs that said what? No black, no Mexican.
Can't get up in there.
No Mexican, right? And they say you out. And so let's keep it real though. There's a third group, and it's women.
Yes, sir.
And I don't see one of the things that I don't talk enough about, like my sister who passed away. I don't talk about enough of that because it's painful. Mm-hmm. But I do recognize some of the most intelligent, most out of the box thinkers, trailblazers, leaders that I've had the pleasure and opportunity of working with were women.
Right.
And so it is, you want to reach the youth, the girls, the boys of color, and because all girls now we're not here, yes, I get it. Maybe white still has an advantage, but women in general are still treated worse.
Yeah.
And color fades a little bit when you get to women, which is terrible. But it's people don't realize that, right? If you look at this politically, right? I say this all the time. I was raised by black women. Black women save the country. That's what we know that, right? That's just the way it works.
Yeah.
But women in general, when you start recognizing what they go up against, color somewhat fades. Yeah, maybe a white woman might get more opportunities than a black or Latino woman, maybe. But generally speaking, they're still the last. They're still after that. Yeah. They're still after that, right? It's kind of like, this guy's no good. This guy's no good. All right, maybe we'll give this black or this Spanish guy. Okay, we don't like them. All right, which women are here that we could look at? It literally goes like that. And women will tell you this experience. This is their experience every day. And they don't say it out loud because they're in the struggle. They got to get through. That's just like we are. And so if you reach them at that 11, 12-year-old age, as they're getting into high school, start shaping where they're going, girls of all colors, boys of color, you can start planting those seeds. Listen, this is an opportunity for you. There's multiple paths to success in this career. You don't just have to go to school and get your master's and your doctorate. You can graduate high school and go to school for 6 months and get a certification and become a specialist. Mm-hmm. And then every couple of years, renew your certifications. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to go back the traditional route. You're going to make a lot of money. You're going to be a professional. You're going
to put some food on the table. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So it's a different path. And I don't know that they understand it, but if we start educating them younger to understand that this path is available, not only will we increase the talent pool in this industry, in our industry, which is always a good thing, but the diversity will come, and then following the diversity will be the equality, and then following the equality, hopefully will be the equity. And then we should be straight, right? But it's a long journey though, man. But we're just starting it now because it's a higher paying profession and people don't recognize that. They don't realize that. But for every Jorge Maestre and every James Hicks, there's 4,000 Bobby Jones, right? And so you don't. It's a higher, and people just close their minds to this industry being a path they might want to follow.
That's interesting because I always tell folks that there are two industries that I think will always be around and will always be fruitful and be profitable. And that's medical and that's technology, right?
Yeah.
So you can go into those. There's always going to be need for both of those, and STEM programs, engineering programs. I did programming for a while. I wasn't built for programming, so I had to move to just a different technology side of my brain. Me and COBOL and Pascal just did not get along very well. I'd rather be doing some of that other stuff. But you're right. I mean, these fields, these industries have the means to really take care of yourself, take care of your family, are credible, are rewarding, and we're definitely making a change. We're making a change in a number of different ways, and I hinted this to you before we went online. And I want to ask you a couple of things about technology overall, short, mid, and long term. Kind of give me your perspective, one from the enterprise technology field. You know, where we are today, where you think we're going, kind of in the next 8 months, a year or so, and then kind of long term, where do you see enterprise technology going? Not necessarily consumer technology. I don't want to talk about phones, and I don't want to talk about laptops and things like that. But from an enterprise perspective,
I could talk about that.
I know you can talk about that, but shoot, go ahead, brother. Get it in.
You know, I'll talk about a couple of things, right? So the first thing about enterprise technology is interesting. So let's start with the storage industry, which is obviously what I speak about most. It's an interesting time because depending on who you listen to, you'll hear some fallacies. You'll hear people say, "Oh, you know, traditional storage, external storage, you know, all flash arrays. That's a dying market." And the truth is, the numbers will show that it is declining. There's no question about it. But if you take a look at the data under the covers and take a look at the amount of capacity being sold every year, it's going up. And the fact of the matter is, the truth is the industry is consolidating, right? And what you're seeing is, look, nobody wants to be writing less data. Anybody who's writing less data is going out of business. People are writing data. They're sending data every day. And so what you're seeing is that the industry, this particular industry, is opened up to multiple options. You used to buy, you know, a VMAX, right, or a PowerMax. This is what your primary enterprise storage was, right? Or if you wanted something that was different and maybe just as fast or whatever, you'd buy a 3-part, right, from HPE. If you wanted something that was a little bit more unique, maybe you wanted something that could do file, then you'd go buy NetApp, right? This was literally your option pool. I would buy, if I wanted to go the old school way, I might buy from, you know, EMC. If I wanted to do something new with a little bit of a modern twist, I might buy this 3-part thing. If I wanted to go file, I would buy NetApp. But like, that's pretty much like your where you were limited, right? Now it's kind of like, well, listen, I'm running this application. Do I want to run it on hyperconverged? Do I want to run it on all flash? Do I want to run it in the cloud? Right? I don't know. I got options. What options are there available to me? There's a ton of them, right? Mm-hmm. And so you start looking at where the industry is going. It's sort of like, oh, maybe software defines an option for me. And you start thinking about the industry as a whole. And you start saying that what's great about where we are right now, where enterprise storage is right now, is all the options. It sucks if you're trapped in this bubble of only selling one thing. And Pure Storage, I'm talking to you.
Hold on. I was gonna come at you because you sure did say some things about, you know. I told you I'm rocking blue down, you rocking green. You sure did say a little negativity about Dell. Man, look here, brother.
No. I didn't mean nothing negative about that. I was just going by like more or less like the industry perception.
I got it. I'm messing with you, man. I'm messing with you.
Okay. No, I want to be careful because I actually don't really want to offend anybody. I'm really speaking from the heart. Symmetrics is that traditional storage that everybody knows, right? That's what started this whole industry. Nobody would be in storage if not for Symmetrics, right?
That's true.
And so it's a fact, right? And so we recognize that. So I'm just going by that, right? And then 3-part was like the first provision thing. That's what people would buy, and that's why it became a major monster seller for HP. And then of course NetApp was always, you know, unified, and so that's all it was. But having said that, right, the options that exist now are super interesting because they didn't exist 5 years ago.
True.
You would never get away from an all-flash array and buy Nutanix 5 years ago. You get fired.
That wouldn't be a good thing. That would not be a good look. Yeah,
you'd have probably gotten fired for it. But now you're kind of like, well, hold on a second. Hardware commoditization has taken over our industry. CPUs, I don't need a CPU. Maybe I can do an ARM processor. That's not bad. Oh, maybe I could do an FPGA, or even better, I'll do a GPU and really specialize my system. And now you're kind of like, like, look at my hardware options.
Memory's getting denser. Now I could jack it up with some memory. I can actually get a lot more in-cache in-memory performance. You have Oracle databases now that didn't exist 5 years ago and running entirely in memory. Five years ago, you couldn't do that.
That's crazy. You think about it, yeah.
I mean, right? You're thinking about that. And then, of course, you have QLC drives that are now giving you flash performance and crazy density in a super cheap form factor.
Yeah, the world has changed in such a short period of time, right? Again, you think about old school folks that have been in the industry for 10 years or so, been in it for a decade, and never could have fathomed some of these functionalities, capabilities. To think of Oracle can run completely in memory as opposed to, I grew up doing redo log archive and backups and things like that and recoveries of Oracle. So I still have nightmares of that. I mean, just again, how fast it's changed. RMAN backups, brother, and recoveries in the middle of the night. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's brutal. That's brutally painful. But it's just changed a lot. And so the options that are available are incredible, right? Yeah. So let's take that to the next generation. Compute has always been a volume sell.
True.
Let's keep it real, right? Yeah. If Intel went out of business tomorrow, HPE and Dell and Cisco and Lenovo be out of business a couple of months later, right?
There you go.
Either that or AMD is going to become a zillion. AMD CEO going to make Jeff Bezos look poor, right?
He's going to be buying two jets.
Yeah. So it's one or the other, right? So ultimately, at the end of the day, the commoditization of hardware is just a thing. And I think it's a thing that everyone has to recognize. And we don't own it. HP, Dell, we don't own that stuff, right? We don't own NVMe. We didn't write the patents on NVMe.
Right,
we're just including them in our systems.
Right.
So there are very intelligent people in all of these companies designing these platforms, designing the way IO will pass through these systems. And those are very intelligent conversations that many customers just don't care to have anymore. Because at the end of the day, the IO comes in, the IO goes out, and the differences in that operation between coming in and going out, between one vendor and another, are minimal.
Yeah.
Minimal.
It's the value-added services on top of that, right? If they're bolted on or if they're included, that's really where the value is. But again, everyone, and I say this all the time, everyone's got a fast array. Even though we don't, we talk about Pure. Pure's got a fast array until it falls over. HP's got fast arrays. Dell's got fast array. Right, we can go down that path. But again, everyone's got a Ferrari in their driveway. But it's those value-added services that are included with the pieces of technology that really resonate and matter and help solve business challenges. That's the conversation that we're having now. We're not talking about spec sheets and ones and zeros as much anymore. We're talking about what is it, George, that you're trying to do at your business, and does what I have in my portfolio meet or match and help you be successful in what you're trying to do. Right?
And that's something I'm with 100%. And one thing, something that I say all the time, and I've been saying it for a while. I've said it a little bit differently over the years, but one thing I say all the time, it's all about the outcome. What is the customer trying to accomplish? Mm-hmm. And either we can accomplish that or we can't. I got one thing that infuriates me is box pushers.
Yeah,
that's why I tease there's probably people from Pure watching this. I tease you. I'm only teasing you.
Well,
you could be in love with your little orange box.
Where are super micro folks at?
Yeah, exactly. I hope you're in love with I hope you can be in love with your little orange box. That's good for you, right? But like the reality is, it's the industry as a whole. It's about the outcome, and either you can deliver that or you can't. Mm-hmm. And there are multiple ways, and the box pushers infuriate me because like my box is better than your box is like, first of all, that style of selling didn't even work in 2015. It's not gonna work in 2021. So it's a little nutty. There's too much of that. At the end of the day, and this is something that EMC did really, really well was. And I train people within HPE to understand this, right? And I try to train other people. I actually talk about it publicly as well. The reason EMC created a juggernaut of a legacy and created this storage industry as kind of we know it is because when they started creating their sales processes, which I am an alumni, right?
Yeah, because you were part of the EMC family for a while yourself. Yeah.
For sure. Right. SE, I was SE of the year 2001. What's up, baby?
Oh, shoot.
That's a whole other story. But anyway, the reason that they did that was because when they were starting and creating the sales process, they weren't competing against another storage array. They were competing against direct attached storage. They were competing against servers.
Yeah.
The entire foundation of the sales training from EMC was, hey, Mr. Customer, let me explain to you why it's better for your business to buy storage.
Yes.
Not why my Symmetrics is better than Pure or why it's better than NetApp. That didn't come until a decade later, right? And that sales training and that sales foundation, of which I am an alum and I am grateful for that, is critical in understanding how to communicate with customers better. Now, I'll keep it real. 100% real. This is a revenue, hopefully not a resume generating event, but there isn't a single vendor today. We were just teasing Pure. Let's give them a little bit of credit on the flip side right now. They're probably the best vendor today, better than Dell, better than us, better than NetApp at having exactly this type of conversation. It is probably where their strength is. They have 7,000 customers and have generated over $1 billion in revenue on 7,000 customers. Just let that sink in for a moment. That is so crazy impressive. And at the end of the day, customers are getting a friggin' box, an orange box. Nothing that they said is true. Nothing that they're selling is real. That's but true. They're so good at having this conversation.
They're a great marketing company. They're great at marketing. Yeah.
They're just really good at having this conversation. The customers are like, you know what? You get it. You get where my head is at. I'm gonna buy from you. Yeah. And then a box shows up, and you're kind of like, what the hell is this box?
What am I supposed to do with this?
What is this? But that's a whole different story. But that's so like to your point, the value added sales and all that stuff matters. But what's more critical is the conversation, is understanding what the customers are trying to do, and then driving towards that. Right? There's some things that we do well along those lines, but we don't complete the picture. There's a lot of things that you guys do well, but again, the picture gets hard to complete. NetApp is sort of in this area where they're sort of stuck. And then you have other vendors just trying to stay relevant. And I think at the end of the day, it's because they're all not paying attention to this conversation.
Exactly.
It's really just knocking on the door, talking to a customer about what it is they're trying to accomplish, and then how you can help them accomplish that. Whoever does that in a cheap way, whoever does that in a fast way, whoever does that in an easy way is going to win the customer's trust and win the business, right? That's just really what it comes down to.
I agree. But you think about it, it's a challenging conversation to teach technical sellers, right? Because if you've come up up the ranks and you were a box pusher and you were a one, meeting and exceeding quota all the time because you had just a customer who knew what they wanted all the time and you didn't have to convince them, or you didn't have to actually have those technical conversations to have that technical win conversation. I think they're going to be the ones that are going to fall by the wayside, and it's only going to be kind of the cream of the crop that's going to arrive. Either, it doesn't matter what company you're at, right? I think, again, there's going to be a reckoning of the folks who can actually go out there and dialogue, have the conversation, get in front, have the challenging conversation, right? HP and Dell and Pure and whomever, IBM, are they still around? Yeah. All of us in the same room, right? Just hashing it out. And you've got to have those subject matter experts who can really stand up straight and have that conversation. Now let me ask you this, because that was yesterday and that was today. Where do you see things going kind of in the future? I've always been thinking about AI, ML, DL, so deep learning, machine learning, artificial intelligence. And both of our companies, all of our industry is talking about that and is thinking about that, robotics, things of that nature. Where do you see, just from your strategy perspective, where do you see that kind of fitting in?
I mean, it's definitely the future. The key is how far ahead into the future is it, right? So I'll give you another case in point, right? Cloud was supposed to be, by now, cloud was supposed to have replaced everything else, right? Yeah. On-prem should have been dead. Cloud was supposed to, right? And what have we learned?
Well, the future is not cloud. The future is hybrid.
It's mixed,
right?
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
reality. Is the enemy? I say this to everyone, and they don't always get it. The enemy of technology is scale. Doesn't matter what type of technology you buy. Doesn't matter what vendor you buy it from. Scale will always break it. You add the more applications you put on it, you scale it that way, it will break. The more workloads you put on it, if you're increasing your workloads, you will break it. Right? The more capacity you need, if you scale it, you will break it. Doesn't matter what the technology you're using is. The enemy of it is scale. And so what happens to cloud when you scale? Well, the first part that you're stuck with is egress charges if you need to make changes.
Yeah, you got to worry about that ingress egress. Yeah, it don't cost much to put it in there, but you want it back. You want some of that data back?
Yeah, that's the most expensive click you will ever have in your life. Like I know there's a bunch of dudes out here that do the porn sites, but this is a more expensive click than that. Move to this platform, sure. Click. What?
Jeff Bezos is sending you a bill in 20 minutes.
I'm about to get a lawsuit. You just impacted $400 million of my revenue this year. But it's a reality. It is the most expensive click you ever find. And then that's the first pain you feel. The second pain you feel as scale happens in the cloud is performance goes this way immediately. And so wait a minute. Now the first pain was it got expensive. The second pain was performance. Forget resiliency, because the hyperscalers aren't providing resiliency, right? Now they're providing enough resiliency, right? But I mean, Amazon has an outage every 6 weeks. I mean, let's every 8 weeks, something like that. It's somewhere in that range, right? So resiliency isn't necessarily the promise. So what's happening is, and if you start looking at repatriation, the applications that go to the cloud are the ones that are coming back, the ones that are most commonly going. So it's a cycle, right? It's to the cloud and back. And so that hybrid relationship is the actual present and future. So now let's translate that into the same conversation with AI, analytics, deep learning, and machine learning. Clearly, these are different comparisons, right? I get that. It's apples and oranges to some degree. AI, deep learning, machine learning, all of these things will be part of everybody's technology offering. There's no way around that. Everyone is including these things, right? We are building systems with telemetry data to have all the extra AI, and then you're building sensors not only inside these systems, but external to the systems to have even more learning, right? Yeah. And going end to end. And so clearly this is a thing. What we don't know yet is how much of a thing this will actually influence the way technology is used. Now it's now a thing in the way technology might be purchased. It's now a thing in the way technology is supported. Yeah. Clearly, no question about it. But is AI really affecting my SAP deployment? Which, while maybe one of the most intense applications in the world, is still a relatively predictable application profile. You know it's going to be busy as shit, right? It's just, you're just going to pay attention to it. So the AI is keeping it going. The AI is solving some problems theoretically, but it's not really influencing the purchasing of SAP of machines or the way SAP is actually running on those machines. Now, somebody can debate me and say, well, that's not true. We wouldn't do this without AI and that. Yes, sure. But those are sensors. I would argue that the majority of it is still basically in how the systems are supported, much more than how the applications are actually performing. There is some application performance analyzers and there's workload analyzers, and I get all that, but it's not the same. And there's still some manual intervention. So if there's manual intervention in these processes, which you're always going to want, man, everyone is always going to want some manual control. No one's going to be okay with, no one is going to, I promise you that, listen, people think that protests over the summer were bad. Let me tell every DBA in the country that they will no longer be able to tune their database. That it'll be auto-tuned.
Look, you don't mess with that. Don't do that, brother. Yeah, you have an uprising for sure. That's true.
They'll be burning George flags. They'll be burning George flags all over New York City. It'd be ugly. You can't tell me that there won't still be manual intervention. So how much will this influence? Now, clearly there's the space where machine learning and AI is going to fit the consumer. right? That's where the IoT comes from, and where it plays in. And that's already happening. We're already seeing that, right? Your temperatures of your house is automatically adjusting, right? Some people with smart homes, like my house, I don't have to do nothing. If it gets too hot, it just automatically censors it based on my usage profile. Yeah. You have refrigerators that can automatically detect what you're low. And so that's all AI, deep learning, machine learning, and impacting IoT. And those are things like even your dishwashers. Right, you can have dishwashers today that can auto sense what's happening based on the weight of the machine and the other factors that they put in there. And so you're kind of looking at it really, really impacting the consumer world. So once it's in the consumer space, like iPhone and Samsung and everything else, it will hit the enterprise space. There's just no way around it. And it is hitting the enterprise space, but it's largely impacting the way these systems are being supported. You can extend that into the way they're being deployed. There might be the way they're being deployed, the way they're being provisioned. Those are some things, those are some elements of things where it's impacting what we do. But I don't know what the long-term looks like yet, because there's still going to be some level of manual control. There has to be. True. Otherwise people just wouldn't buy it. And so that picture will continue to sort of paint itself, right? It is something that we all need to keep studying. I think all of us need to start becoming more data scientists. Not that we have to become data scientists.
Be aware, right? Be aware.
All of us. Yeah. We have to recognize that that data science is important. Is an important, at least having a rudimentary understanding of it regardless of which vertical within technology you're in. You have to have at least a rudimentary understanding of it. I think it's important because this is going to be critical, right, going forward. But again, how much is going to influence customers in the enterprise space? It remains to be seen. I mean, it today. I could tell you, I don't want to talk about one thing we've been talking a lot about lately with other technologists that I kind of chill with, have conversations with, as dark sites, right? How much of the industry is leveraged is a dark site where they're not sending any data home to anyone else. So how much analytics are they taking advantage of, right? I mean, they're very much sort of controlled environments. How much are they taking advantage of analytics? Now there is some, right? There's a lot that they're learning just within their own ecosystem, but that's not really the spirit of what analytics and AI is designed to do, right? We want to have that global learning. So, and there's a huge chunk, and some of the most critical applications in the world are running in dark sites. So it's just really kind of the point I'm trying to drive home, is that we won't really fully see its impact. It's necessary. And so it is a necessity. We'll have it in there. And that's why I said we all need to get some understanding of data science for sure. But beyond that, how much it shapes the enterprise space, I think is shifting, right? We don't know yet. That picture isn't clear yet, I don't think. SMB space, more, the entry space. Yeah, I can see fully autonomous arrays in that space. I can totally see it. Certainly the consumer space, as I said, I can see there's a lot of autonomy already happening there. But beyond that, as you get into that upper mid-range, that mid-market sort of enterprise space.
A little longer to adapt or adopt.
Being autonomous isn't going to necessarily be the selling point that people think it is, right?
I'm not going in nobody's office trying to sell that tomorrow or next week. And so, so folks, that's what we talk about. That's what George and I talk about all day, every day in our worlds, right? And how enterprise technology, how analytics, how machine learning, how networking, how convergence and all that really affects not just the businesses, but how it trickles down to the consumer. So I appreciate you going into some of that detail, man, because it's relevant. I don't know who all may have understood it. I understood it, but again, I understood it, but again, those are the conversations that are happening at kind of that macro level that will eventually trickle down to the Best Buys and the micro. You know what I'm saying? The folks at the consumer level, because these are the things that are happening. Let's pivot a little bit, brother. We talk this all day, and it can be a little stressful. It can wear on you. I see some weights behind you. I see some 5s and some 10-pounders. I know back in the day you were lifting some big weight.
I got the weights on the wall. I actually got them on both sides. Can you see? Let me walk around here.
Oh, let's see what we got. Let me put you in focus here.
Can you? So you see I got this weights over here. Let me see how this works here. So you got 45s, 35s, 25s all hanging on the wall here. I have it on both sides, and then of course you have a strap rack. I got the dumbbells. You see the dumbbells? Let me see if I can get them.
We got them.
You got the dumbbells.
Clearly, the squat rack, you got to have the bench and squat rack. I still got to do the squats, of course, some tools in the background. And then you got the other side of the gym where you got the weights on the wall over here. And then you got the pulley system.
Yeah, so get it, brother. Get it.
I get my back out. So, COVID. So this is called, and then of course you always, because I'm still from the hood, and every once in a while you still got to be ready to knock
somebody down, right? Yeah, you got to knock somebody down.
you still got to be able to knock somebody down out pretty good, in case anybody ever acts up. So this is called COVID gym.
Because I'm impressed. I'm seeing a lot of that is homemade there, right? I'm seeing a lot of that is actually you rolling up the sleeves and actually throwing some 2x4s together to build some of that.
So the squat, this is definitely, if you can see, let me see if I can get a better picture of it. So that is definitely homemade. I bought me some 2x4s, and I went back to school with the engineering design, my engineering school, and sat down at the drawing board. And sat down and drew up plans for what a pulley would look like. And the reason why I did that was because when COVID hit and everything shut down, no stores were selling any gym equipment.
Oh, they were all gone. They were all gone. Yeah, I was trying to be high. I was trying to be highfalutin and get the Bowflex, and nobody had those Bowflex.
I tried to get one too.
Those adjustable weights, gone.
Yeah,
you couldn't even get them off the bootleg site.
I tried to do that as well. I tried to get that as well.
Yeah.
The Bowflex one. I'm trying to plug in my laptop here. I wasn't ready for the laptop to die so quickly. Sorry about that. So I try to get a Bowflex as well. My wife and I talked about it. My wife is a little bit of a gym rat herself. She likes to work out a lot. I was a power lifter for many years, and then my wife said, I can't afford to feed you anymore. So she was like, feeding you has become very difficult. So being a power lifter came off the table.
Yeah.
Which is okay. But there we go. I got a full charge now, so there's no depth here.
There you go.
So I'm actually, and what's hilarious is what I'm sitting on. I don't know if you can see that. I'm actually sitting on my bench for this.
You're sitting on the bench chair right there. I love it.
So anyway, so my wife's a little bit of a gym rat herself, and we looked at the Bowflex and we looked at all this stuff, and she was like, never mind. And I tell you what, there's times where I have the best wife in the world, and there's times that I wish I lived in a different house.
She gonna come back out here and throw one of them 5-pounders at you in a minute.
She probably, I promise you, she paid attention for the first 10 minutes. We lost her attention span is gone. So, but she surprised me one day. We were in a car, and she was like, "Hey, we got to go down south a little bit." I was like, "Why?" She was like, "Don't worry about it. I got something for you." I said, "All right, we'll go." So, we're driving, and then she goes, "Turn right here." It was a Dick's Sporting Goods.
Okay.
So in my mind, I'm like, all right, this Dick's by us, so I got to drive an hour and a half to go to Dick's. But whatever, right? Go inside, and she was like, okay, they're going to bring it out in a minute. So she didn't tell me nothing. These two dudes come out with a rack, all this weight.
Like that.
She just found it. She was on her phone playing and just thought of it.
Oh, shoot. Hold on. Wait a minute. There we go. She about to knock him down.
So, yeah. Just to listen. She's like, you know what's funny?
Be careful now.
She just needs to be on camera. She wants to get on camera. She's like Lucy. She's like old school Rickey and Lucy. Like, anything she'll do anything to be the show. So, but anyway, so Brush surprised me, man. I was just like, wow. And these guys were wheeling out all this weight, and it's funny is that dude looks at me like, yeah, you can definitely use it, and then he just walked and put it in the car, and then here we go. So it was, she was just persistent, click and refresh, but they got a shipment in, and as soon as they got it, my wife was like on it, and we were able to get that. So I've been able to work out for a minute here in the gym. We've been working out here for a bunch of times. I mean, I got cables on the wall, I got everything going on. I mean, I'm doing a 4-day on, 2-day off rotation right now. And I get it all in. You could do squats. I could do leg curls using the cable machine that I built. Obviously biceps you can get in, but bench. I don't bench like I used to now. Like I try to do 15, 20 reps, everything. So I might do, I'll probably do 225, maybe 20 times now. And that's, maybe 5 or 6 sets, something along those lines. I don't go crazy like that.
like I ain't gonna eat 12,000 calories and bench press 500 pounds anymore.
Yeah.
But like today, I did some deadlifts. I did some back today, so I did some deadlifts. Some lat pull downs, stuff like that, and I can get it all in here. So I'm not really missing the gym too much. Now I got my first vaccine shot.
Yeah, I got mine today. Yeah.
You got your first one or your second one?
I got my first one today. Yeah, I'm Team Moderna. Goddammit. I'm got my Fauci ouchie today, brother. Yeah. Yeah.
So I got Pfizer. Same difference. So oh man, I can't say what I was gonna say. Never mind. But I got the Pfizer one, and so my wife and I went together. We got that. I got my brother, my Mauricio. My brother from Brazil, he was refreshing. He lives here in Texas. He was refreshing for me, and I didn't even ask him. He was like, he said, he reached out to me. He's like, "Hey man, did you get a vaccine yet?" I said, "Nah, I'm on all the waiting list." So he hits me like the next day. He's like, "Bro, I got 3 spots. Check them. I think you can get in right now." and like I was like, "For
vaccine
real?"
spots,
so blessed. Yeah. Yeah, I know it was real hood too. It was like real hood. Yo, my man. You need a vaccine? You need some vaccine? Yo, what's up,
I got
kid?
that J&J. I got that
kid.
Moderna. What you need?
Yeah, bro, for real. Like that's how it was real hood too. I mean, I'm not kidding. The way he reached out to me, it's hilarious how hood it was. Yo, my man, you're 2 for 10 right here. Your fat bags, 2 for 10. And like it was, but it was vaccine, 2 vaccine. My wife and I got it, so we got Pfizer. So once we get the second one, and a couple of weeks after that, I will start looking to go back into a gym. But I definitely built this out, and it definitely got us through COVID. And it also will help like on days where I don't need to. I'm not going to take it down. I love the punching bag. Yeah. It definitely will work on days where maybe I don't feel like going to the gym, or I got to put in those extra hours at the keyboard. Yeah. So I'll just hit the garage real quick. But yeah, I mean, we're blessed. I think my wife was persistent.
I love it, man. So talk to me a little bit about, because again, I know you were powerlifting big back then. Now, did you ever actually compete, or were you just doing it again just to
I did. I didn't compete in official competitions. I competed for records. So so you have so it's called sanction lift, right? So where they come, they check your measurements. They make sure it's all professional, and then they look at what your numbers were, and then they put you in the record books, right? This was in New Jersey. So I have numbers recorded. I don't have numbers that are first place or win anything like that. I don't have any wins per se, but I do have some good numbers. Obviously, probably the most impressive number I have is a 525 flat bench. I don't, and I will be on the record. I'm the first one to admit this. I joke around a lot about drug usage. I have never taken steroids, right? I'm not a steroid guy. My wife is very anti-steroids. I'm actually not anti-steroids, but I just my wife is big against it. So why have that argument? So I never had to do that. I mean, I did an unsanctioned, it wasn't sanctioned, unfortunately, but I did do an unsanctioned squat of 1,000 pounds, 1,015 to be exact. Wow. And I did have witnesses that see me do it. I also did a leg press of 2,100 pounds, which was again witnessed and recorded. But neither were I think sanctioned. I mean, they show up with the record books and all that other stuff. Yeah. And that didn't happen. The bench they did. I did do a 575 incline as well. Wow. Again, all natural, just from calories, right? Just from eating calories, a lot of calories. Like I told you before, we were joking offline. I mean, there was times where I'd be eating at the table, like. I remember one time I knew I was going to squat heavy. So I don't know where everybody lives in the country, right? But in New York and New Jersey, my wife and I were living in New Jersey at the time. You can order food like anytime, right? You can order food like this was before Uber. You just call the pizzeria and they send you food over, right? And so one time when I was really into it, I was like 11 o'clock at night, and I was like, "Babe, I'm hungry." And she's like, "It's 11." And I'm like, "I'm hungry." She's like, "You know what? I can eat a little bit something too." So the kids were up. This was the summer. And the kids were up and everything. And she was like, "Oh, maybe we can order a pizza. That's not a lot of food. It's 11 o'clock, whatever. We're going to stay up a little later." I was like, "That's not a bad idea." So I ordered a pizza and a chicken Parmesan dinner. So chicken Parmesan is like fried chicken, fried with pasta and sauce. I ate all that shit at 11:30 at night. like just to go into food, cold.
And just let it sit right there on the gut all night while you was trying to sleep. Man.
Oh my God, that's like,
Bruh.
and they probably had a pizza too. That's like 2,000 calories, and that's at the end of my day, right? When I had probably already eaten like 5,000 calories.
You just bloated, and shouts out to Tums and Rolaids, both of them, because you.
Yeah, oh for sure, bro. I think I destroyed my esophagus eating like that too. But I tell you this. I'm gonna repeat this story I told you when we were talking offline. They just sometimes you get these bursts of energy, right? And there's times where I would go to the gym and you go by the dumbbells and I would grab like the 125s, right? The heavy ones. And I could do hammer curls with hundreds, right? Not 125. I couldn't get that big. Or I do these shoulder presses, one hands, right? With 125s. And people in the gym be staring at you like they're trying to work and they're like embarrassed because they're using like 25s and 35s and they're just looking at you like this dude just grabbed 125.
Just saying we got the big fella
and that is a very that's an ego. That is definitely a stroke for your ego, dude.
Yeah,
like that's
when you kick up them big fellas like that, then you know somebody's watching. Yeah.
I mean, being cut and muscular and like bodybuilding definition and all that, that's super cool. But there's when you put up numbers, people turn and look like no matter what, they're like, yo, this dude is putting up some weight right here. Like, you know what I mean? And it's a cool feeling. But so I don't, and knock on wood. I never injured myself. I have a shoulder injury that's been nagging for years from when I used to play baseball when I was younger. But outside of that, I never really injured myself. I've seen dudes' bodies snap in half trying to deadlift too much weight. I've seen all kinds of like crazy, horrific injuries, and I never thankfully got any of them.
Good.
I'm blessed for that, and I think
I love it. Now, is that kind of
but yeah,
the powerlifting, the lifting? Is that what you do really to kind of decompress, to step away? I mean, what else outside? Because again, our jobs can be stressful, and in a typical year, we're traveling, we're living out of suitcases a lot of times, going back and forth. I mean, what do you do to kind of maintain, right? To break away and have some time for George, kind of thing.
Well, my wife says she's still watching, so my first answer is going to be sex with my wife. That's
don't get in trouble. That's why I say something
with her and only her.
Let's be clear. Let's be clear. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. No, honestly, powerlifting.
You didn't just put it all out there too just now, so it's all out there now.
Dude, we married 20 plus years, four beautiful kids. I ain't complaining. So we lifting weights obviously is clear. The idea was to exhaust myself mentally, right? So if you remember anything about me, the one thing that you might learn is I'm awake like 24/7. My mind's always racing. I'm always working. I'm always reading. I'm always learning. I'm always trying to get, to understand what's happening, get out in front of it. My boss right now, if he's watching, he texts me all the time, like, go to sleep, dude. Like just take some time off, do something, decompress. Like, he texts me all the time on that. And it's a little bit of a struggle for me. I don't know why. I've always sort of been like a light sleeper. I can't do it. So the idea was work is very stressful. Like you said, we were always, before pre-COVID, we were on planes all the time, all over the world. I have been all over the world. I just did a shout out on LinkedIn for that. So I know a lot of people read the article. I just did a shout out. A lot of people call feelings, though. I think a lot of people aren't happy that Finland is the happiest country in the world. My team Finland, if you're watching, love you.
I saw that.
Yeah, and not a lot of people like you. So LinkedIn tells you how many people read your article, and I got thousands of views of the article, and like 7 people liked it. So I know it's all haters, right? Like 1,000 people read it, they're like, man, screw Finland.
Talking mad.
Whatever, dude. I'm all about team Finland. Yeah. So I was in Scandinavia in the Scandinavian countries for a couple of weeks. That was right before COVID. And we're always in the world, right? All over the world. And that is mentally exhausting.
Yeah.
But what happens is, and this is something that you probably, and your family probably doesn't appreciate that, and your viewers probably don't appreciate this. we can't turn it off, because once we come home, something else happened that we have to be aware of.
Yes.
We never get to, and families don't understand that you can never turn it
That's
off.
That's a good point, man. Hold on. Stop, Rick. Say that one more time, right? Because I want folks to compartmentalize that. I mean, say that again. I mean, from the perspective of where you and where we're coming from. I mean, that's really critical, I think, because one of the things I'm trying to focus on for this year is mental health, primarily mental health for men. And now you're adding a whole nother aspect to folks that are in our particular industry. And again, like I said before, always being on. So I want to hear that. I'm being selfish. I want to hear that again for myself.
No, that's fine. We can never turn it off, right? We can never turn what we do off, because something always happens, right? Yeah, I'll give you an example, right? This is the way our industry works. Liquid hard drives. Somebody announced we got a breakthrough. Liquid hard drives might be the next thing. It probably isn't, but let's say it is. Right? Who knows, right? Or quantum, whatever, right? Quantum computing, right? These are things that are happening, conversations that are happening. Now we're immediately thrust in it, because someone will ask us if we have any plans, if we're looking at it. And that's what they don't understand. Like, that's what people don't understand. So in our roles, in our, it's going to be thrust upon us. So either you can say, I don't know, or you go and you prepare to have that conversation. Amazon makes an announcement that they're revamping Outposts and how they're going to deploy things. Guess what we got to go do? We got to go learn everything there is to learn about Outposts, to have this conversation so that we can have a different perspective. Hey, Azure Stack is probably coming in, and maybe they're now going to revert and go on-prem. We got to go have that conversation, right? GCP is doing different things. Got to have that conversation. Hey, did you see that Pure Storage added this security certification? They didn't, but let's say they did. We got to go understand that. Like, it never turns off, right? And it's one of those things that technology is one of those things that it's an industry, and this is part of what you want to share with kids, though. It is an industry that is always racing. And you can never be out in front. Never. No one is ever out in front.
That is true. That speaks truth.
But you want to be close to the front, right? You don't want to be at you never want to be bleeding edge. You always, but you want to be cutting edge. You definitely don't want to be last, right? And so like, if you think about it like a comet, right? You can't be at the tail end of the comet. You're dead. But you don't want to be in the front, because you're going to be crashing. Yeah, you're going to burn up. So you want to be as close to the back of the comet as possible. And that's really the best way I kind of describe technology, right? Right, being as close to the back of the comet as you possibly can, and just that's our job, right? And a lot in traditional engineering, coders and stuff like that, I understand they're the heart and the soul of our industry, but their focus gets to be isolated. They get to focus on what they're doing. Right? Our role as technologists, as advisors, as ambassadors of technology, if you will, unfortunately, we got to go deep and wide.
Yes.
And it's a never ending thing. And there's a lot of us out there, right? I don't want to go crazy patting ourselves on the back or all that stuff, or complaining about our high paying job, but like first world problems, right? But it's I don't want to do that. But it doesn't lessen the fact we are constantly, those of us who are not learning are going to be left behind, and that's so we just never can turn it off, right? We just can never turn it off.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Look, I want to be cognizant of your time, brother. I know you got some more weight that you need to put up. I know you got some things, but I've got 2.5 more questions to ask you.
Fire away.
One, I want to make a statement, and one of them, thank you for your service, brother, because I know you spent 7 years in the Army, so we appreciate you for that, and I want folks to know that. I'm gonna recognize you where you need to be recognized.
No. Let me come.
Okay, go where you want to go, brother.
I was in the Army Reserves.
Yeah,
and I did 2 years active, and then I did 6 years inactive. So IR. So I did my 2 years, and I was done.
You did what you look, but you was in there. You was in there doing what you needed to do.
I was in there. Okay, and then I got my discharge papers in '98, so I can never go back.
They don't want you back, huh?
You don't want me back.
They don't know who wants to come back. George? No, we don't want him back up in here.
Nah, you want to laugh though? You want to talk about what your wife said? Your wife
Yeah.
made you take. Your wife made you take the offer.
Yeah, so I'll say that. So everyone knows the family knows the story. I was with HP for 20 years, and then Dell called and made an offer that my wife couldn't refuse. So that's why I went to Dell. So yeah,
that is hilarious. I have a very similar story. I got two stories like that, but the only one I'll tell you this. But after 2001, after 9/11, I was in New York that way. Very very emotional kind of experience. And a few months after it had passed, the military called me back.
Okay.
And they said, you've been out for a few years, but you're in the technology field. We'd love for you to come back. And at the time, my wife and I were thinking about buying a property. We hadn't bought anything yet. We were still just young and starting out in our career. And I was like, well, if you guys did housing, I'd consider it. No, housing is housing is a wait list, and it's a promise and a dream that really never comes true. So I said, all right, look, I'll tell you what, I still want to do this. This might be cool. How much, what would be the annual salary essentially? And they gave me the number.
Yeah.
So I told my wife, I said, honey, the NSA, I have to go back into the military, but then I get a job in the NSA. So she was like, oh, okay, yeah, listen, if that's what you want to do, what are they offering? Like, how much is it, just out of curiosity? So when I told her the number, she's like, what? Are you stupid? That's like 40% less than you're making in your current job. Get the hell out of here. You better call them back.
You ain't going nowhere.
It was just hilarious the way that conversation happened, though, because it was like, you know what, babe, if that's what you want to do, I get it. I appreciate it. Of course, this was emotional for you. That's a good idea. And but just out of curiosity, how much were they paying? It was like, what? Get the hell out of here. Hell no.
You so crazy. You're not going back no place.
I was just like, yes, dude. Yes.
You said you better put that suit and tie on and put them fatigues down. You got to put them fatigues on right now.
Next day I was on the phone. I'm like, nah, man.
My wife said no. I can't come out and play.
Yeah, that's exactly how it was. My wife said.
And so next thing I wanted to ask, I know you in Texas. Hopefully everything is okay after all that tumultuous weather that was had out there. You and the family safe out there?
We are. I will say this for anybody who's watching. Just the number just came out today. Actually, the death toll from that storm was over 100 people. So my heart goes out to every person, every family who lost anyone. I mean, that's just irresponsible. It was just reprehensible. I don't even want to get into the politics of how much I hate how this happened, why this happened, and the people involved and how this happened. But 100 people did not need to die. Yeah. And that's just sad. Having said that, I am blessed and grateful. My brother and sister up the street, my wife and I, the kids, everything safe, perfectly safe and sound.
All right, that's good news to hear for sure. Maybe two more quick questions, but they're related. Let's talk a little music. What you got when you lifting the big weight? What you listening to? I know what you listening to, but tell the folks what you listening to when you pulling up the big weight.
So right? But so I'll tell you what I was. Funny you say that. I was just playing it in the car right now for my wife, so you can see. I don't know if you can see it. Literally, I don't know. Can you see it? Let me put the camera. Can you see it? So I was just jamming that.
Old school,
yeah. That was the last jam that was on the radio while I was finishing my back workout. So normally I'm keeping it in the flavor that I like, which is going to be Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul. You don't know who's listening, right? So I can tell you these people, like, they're like, Tribe. Is he listening to Indian music? What is it? Yeah, Tribe. What is it? No, it's Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul is what I like to listen to. But you know this probably better than anybody. Yeah, I'm always pumping. I'm always pumping. Yeah. Oh, for sure. Rest in peace.
Yes.
I'm always pumping Biggie. I mean, I'm always pumping Biggie. Always pumping Biggie. I don't have a single playlist that doesn't have Biggie in it. I got slow jams that I got to throw Biggie into, which I know my wife is like, what? But this still happens. And I'm always. And I know this is very East Coast bias or very New York bias, but I never get away from Jay-Z or Mary either, right? Like Mary.
Oh yeah, Mary and Method.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
All like Wu-Tang. Yeah.
There's two women that if they ever, one has passed away, but two women, if they ever would have come to my house, they would be treated like royalty. Mary J. Blige, obviously, is one. Celia Cruz, who passed away, the great Cuban Latin singer, she's the other. But Mary J. Blige, I took my wife to see her at Radio City Music Hall. And my wife was like a kid. My wife loves Mary. She was like a kid, just glued the whole time. Like, I don't think she blinked for 3 hours, just like this the whole time, just taking it all in.
My wife's like that with John Legend, so I understand the whole mesmerizing.
Me too, though. me too. John Legend starts singing. I'm kind of like, I don't think I'm gay, but like this, I can't.
But he may like me too,
But like maybe if John is, maybe if John wants to go
this could be that night.
No, John Legend he's the truth. But yeah, I'm always Biggie. Right now, what I love is Spotify. So for people who don't know this, I'm sure everybody knows this, but what I love about Spotify is you pick a song and then you go to radio of that song and then it plays other. So "Moment of Clarity" by Jay-Z has been my theme song probably since it came out. I love that song, and then I put that I was a radio, and then that becomes my playlist, and then my wife just wanted to remind everyone. My wife is part of this interview. You have to do a separate interview with Susie, George's wife.
Let's do it.
But she wanted to remind everyone that we grew up in New York City and we grew up going to clubs. And there's a nice document. There's actually a fun documentary about that. It's not fun. It'll blow. It's funny that I'm calling it fun, but it'll blow people's minds what went on in this country. But clubs in New York City used to let kids in, teenagers, right?
Yes.
15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
And there's a documentary about the limelight and Peter Gatien and in that time. And we used to go to all these clubs. So we were house music addicts. Now, my brother Harry, he's listening. I want him to hear this. If you maybe get the replay. He is, proud Black African, and he is all about it. He never heard house music. Now he is from here in Texas.
Okay.
And I said to him, you cannot call yourself African and not like Chicago house music.
Yeah.
You can't. You
gotta have that in you.
I'm sorry.
You got to have that in you. Yeah.
I'm sorry. So as far as I'm concerned, you're from Switzerland. You're white and you got blue eyes. And
you from Finland.
Yeah, you're from Finland. Because how can you not be down? So we got one of her best friends, Cynthia, her husband Derek. They're from Chicago, so shout out to them. He's a DJ. So it's now again, New York, Chicago house music rivalry is a real thing, people. There's an underground gang wars that we're not ready for this, America. New York and Chicago house music battles. You're not ready. You don't know what happens.
All folks know about is R. Kelly and Steppin', right? But then R. Kelly fell off, so we can't talk about him no more. So don't bring that up. Don't do it. Yeah. It's not that kind of show.
No. Shit, that was hard. You know what's funny though? You know what was crazy about us? And this is where maybe some people have a point. We're just going all over the place. But this is where people have a point, though. We can be a little hypocrites. Because, when shit came out about Michael, when it came out about R. Kelly, our first reaction was you don't know. Why you talking?
Yeah, that ain't right.
For our first reaction, right? But then the truth comes out. And then you're like, oh, damn, he messed up.
So
if we didn't defend him.
let me throw a little something at you. So I'm actually a cousin to Bill Cosby.
No shit, really?
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm just gonna put that out. I'm just gonna let that marinate right there, right? I can't really talk about him right now because we got some issues in the family. But yeah, there you go, right? So I feel it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that one hits me hard, but I never knew that about you.
Yeah.
So that one hits me hard because for years people used to ask me about my parents. I used to say it was Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby and Felicia Rashad, they're my parents. Because most of the life lessons I learned came from the Cosby Show.
Yeah.
Who I want to be. And you talked about my storytelling at the beginning of the interview. He was a major influence that show was a major influence in my life. Right?
Definitely.
He was my father figure, role model, aspiration, always wearing a different college sweatshirt, keeping the family close, calling his family knuckleheads when they acted like knuckleheads.
Telling jokes, Dad is great. Give us chocolate cake. I still
chocolate cake. I used to do a big Cosby hit. Bill. I used to do Eddie Murphy, Bill was in the kitchen. Right. So I used to do that all the time. Jell. So, but I don't know. In that show was a brownstone in Brooklyn that he owned, right?
Okay.
So, I mean, that show was like, for me, it was very painful, very painful. When I first found out about his dirt, I was like,
feel my pain, brother. So there we go. There we go. A little counseling session for both of us. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. But anyway, so house music is a big thing. My boy Derek is a tremendous DJ. I play him on SoundCloud.
Okay.
I gotta find Digi. I forgot. I already lost this thing. I would give him a shout out, but he is a tremendous DJ. Chicago. If you go, people who listen to SoundCloud and want to hear good house music, just Google Chicago house. He'll come up. It's the truth, man. And New York house music is dope too. But I mean, the sounds, the jamming sounds are from Chicago. There's just no question about it. And that's where house music really was born. And it's the truth. I mean, it's just real. And my wife and I still love house music. We play it all the time in the house. We try to get our kids on it, and the kids don't want to hear that nonsense.
They want to hear. We'll talk later about what it is, this mess that they listening to right now, because I'm not sure what it is, to be honest with you. This stuff I cannot comprehend. All this mumbling and doing. I need some real, more, I need some things I can relate to. So,
I'm with you on that.
George, man, let me tell you something, man. This has been more fun than anything, brother. I appreciate you. It's good. I
appreciate you, brother.
It's good to see you doing well. Good to see you smiling. I mean, again, you come out the gate with just 200% energy, and folks love that. I love that. I miss the fact that we're not under the same umbrella talking about it, but we still in the same industry. Paths cross, right? This industry is so small. One of these days, we may have to start up our own thing or whatever. I'm not sure, but
I'll be into it, dude. I would be into it. Let me close with this before we say goodbye here. Yeah. First of all, Sam, good to see you. You look fantastic, and I'm glad you're doing really well. I really am. It's been too long. I'm glad that we stay connected. I really am glad we stay connected. So a bunch of people on LinkedIn heard that we were doing this, right? And I got at least 4, no exaggeration, 4 text messages. Yo, dude, you going to Dell? I was like, what? I'm like, nah, I'm not going to Dell. You talking to James?
You talking to Dell?
What's up? Yeah. Like you go. I'm like, nah, man. James is my boy. We go back and we're just gonna kick it. Oh, okay. But like these people all nervous. Like, you sure you're not going to Dell? Like, no. This conversation ain't even about it. So don't even worry about it. So I thought that was hilarious. As people just don't get it. But hopefully they do. But we got to check in soon, man. And I definitely want to check back in when I've made some more progress on some of these things that I want to work on, and then maybe give you some updates on that, right?
Yes, sir. I appreciate that, man. That's what's up, right? Again, and I told you the whole reason behind what I'm doing is really to shine the light on folks and their individual opportunities and their individual tasks. I just want to turn the lights on, press record, and let you talk about what it is that you're doing, because I think those conversations plus those uncomfortable conversations need to happen. And brother, you're such a good man. For everyone that you touch, I swear is truly blessed, because man, take these flowers, brother. Take these flowers, man. You do what you do, and I promise you, your style is in my style. There's a lot of what you do that I've taken in terms of my conversations and my delivery with folks. I keep it real. I enlighten and entertain and educate. That's really is one of my taglines right now. And those are the 3 things that you do. So I appreciate you for being a role model for me, right, in terms of my professional career as well. So
I can tell you were already great. So I hope I didn't screw anything up. But I really appreciate that. That's humbling. I really appreciate that. But it's like I said, man. I don't know what to say. That's I'm humbled. I don't know.
It's all good, brother. Man. It's all good, brother. It's from the heart. There go Mama saying it's time to eat, right?
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, brother. I'll talk to you later. I appreciate you, and we will connect. Stay well. Tell the family that to stay safe. And again, I appreciate you for everything you do, brother. We out.
Same, but love.